Look at us. We're so handsome.
You there?
Are we live? There we are.
Are we live?
I don't know. Anton, are we live?
We are live.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Well, everyone, welcome in. Welcome to another episode of SEO for e-commerce with our friends at Duda. We have Anton in the background pressing all the cool buttons for us. Today, and I'll introduce this handsome gentleman here in a second. Today we are talking about AI-powered site search and how it affects e-commerce. And I'm joined by my really good friend Igal. Igal is the former head of SEO and growth at investing.com. He was there for 14 years. And in that position, he took investing from zero to one of the top 100 sites globally in organic traffic. Currently, Igal is based out of New York. He is the founder of Webify.io, an international SEO agency, and they help e-commerce, SaaS, and publisher brands succeed in global markets. Before we jump in, I want to make sure that everyone is clear that we are talking about AI-powered search for your website. We are not chatting about AIOs, which is AI overviews in Google, LLMs. Basically, we're not chatting about AI and SEO.
Thank God.
What we are covering is how AI helps users search your brand's website. And Igal has some really cool slides to share with us, but Igal's done this very successfully, and he's going to share some of that knowledge with us. And I think this is a very important topic, especially for e-commerce. There's a lot of information that can be pulled out of utilizing AI as a site search for your website. But I'll let Igal share some of that. Like set the topic for us.
All right. So, hi everyone. Thank you, Arsen. Great to be here. As you said, it's critical to understand, first of all, what are we talking about? I'm going to share my screen just to have that in the background. Let me see that I can do that successfully. I mean, we tested it, so it should work, right?
It will happen. We are business owners. We are in technology. We will figure this out. No? There we go.
All right. Okay.
Nice.
Cool. So we are speaking about AI site search. But before we speak about AI site search, I want to speak a little bit about site search. All right. So what is it? And sort of like, why should we even care? So first things first, there's a lot of site owners that do not track site searches. How do I know? Because I speak to e-commerce site owners.
Because they tell me.
We ask them for this data. They are always like, yeah, we have it somewhere, but we're not so sure where, or we're not so sure how to get it out. It's somewhere in GA4, or maybe some kind of an additional layer of data. It's somewhere, right? So that means that those site owners are not looking at this extremely valuable data every day. They're not looking at it at all, which is interesting. Site search is maybe one of the best communication channels we have with our buyers. All right. We're speaking a lot about surveying users, asking them questions through the likes of Facebook. But our first connection with them is when they're on our site and they're looking for something. They're basically telling us what is that they want, what is that they're looking for. And it's really a critical communication channel for us from which we can learn a lot. And we'll speak about this more today. Now, SEOs always love building categories, building subcategories, building tag pages, optimizing all their titles and stuff, which is incredible. But to be really honest, from what we see, it seems like most of these categories are built for search. And when I say search, I mean SEO. I don't mean site search. A lot of the people who are coming to e-commerce sites, they know what they want. And what they need now is to be able to find it quickly. And when you're showing them things that are not relevant to what they're looking for, they're not happy. Okay? So that's the point here. User satisfaction is key. Okay? We don't have to be in 2025 to understand it. I think we all understood it 10 years ago. But now, with everything that is going on, it's just a lot more powerful and important and critical. And if users are not satisfied, they just go away because they have so many things on their mind. So user satisfaction is key. If I'm looking for something, I want to find that something. Don't give me other things that are not relevant. Obviously, as much as you can. The beautiful thing about what we're talking about here today, Arsen, is that some of these tools already exist today. Some of them can be built customly. But either way, when we're speaking about so many site owners that are not even tracking site searches, they're just missing out.
Right.
Okay? Lists like site search allow us to easily build trending items lists. Okay, one thing that I like to show sometimes is a tool that we built back at investing.com years ago, which was trending stocks. It's a site search feature that basically shows people what currently is being searched for, which can tell a lot about what's going on in the market. But whether it's trending stocks or whether it's trending stocks, whatever it is, you can build trending lists easily because these searches are changing. Now, everybody in e-commerce know about the holidays, about all the seasons that actually matter. A lot of e-commerce sites will tell you they're selling 80% of what they sell in December and January, which makes a lot of sense. But these trending lists, they're right there once you're looking at the data and you just analyze them a little bit. Another interesting thing is that we are all very much used to string-based, and we'll speak quite a few times today, I believe, about string-based site search.
Right.
But even if it's a site search which is just string or AI, there is the first search, there is the second search, there is the third search, and analyzing their probability in order can tell us a lot about what this person is actually looking for. A little bit just like on Google, right? There's an interesting example that I very much like to go back to sometimes. I don't know if you ever heard that before, Arsen, but years ago, I think it was like 50, 60, 70 years ago.
It wasn't around.
We were not around. It's a known story from a lot of marketing courses in university where they said that in supermarkets many, many years ago, bread and milk has always been in two very different locations of the grocery store. Why?
Right.
Because if you need to go to both of them, and most people buy both of them, you will just go through a lot of shelves and see things with your eye, which will make an impulsive buy. Why am I mentioning this now? Because many of today's retailers, the big guys, the Walmarts, the Targets, the Amazons, they're looking at site search to understand sort of like what people are looking for, also when they're looking for something. So they're buying bread with cream cheese, or they are buying milk with coffee, and so on and on and on. So this data is very valuable for them as well. Users, they want to be understood. They want to be valued. Everybody wants to be valued by now. And when we have a good site search, it increases customer loyalty. Do we want to speak about why? Do we want to speak about why this is important for SEO? I mean, this really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Go on.
Right. So SEO is changing, right? A lot.
Right.
And one thing that we know that happened a lot in the last 3 years, in one word, is AI. And AI, first and foremost, means that when ChatGPT was released around end of 2022, what happened as a result is that a lot of SEOs, black hat, white hat, whatever you want to call them, started building a lot of content at scale. I'm not going to say valuable, not valuable, but at scale based on information that already exists. This thing shifted a lot of things in SEO. In 2023, we saw the helpful content update. A lot of sites got hit. Many of them were supposed to get hit. We all know, Arsen, you and I, of sites that did not deserve it, but still got hit.
Right.
Long story short, we are all going back to now 2024, the leaked documents, everything that has to do with how Google tracks things. We understand that users who are loyal, returning, converting into the sites from Google, and then staying again and returning back to the site impacts SEO a lot. Loyalty also means more branded searches. And branded searches, by now, I think everybody in SEO understand that it's pretty much one of the top, maybe 3 key factors in rankings. One last thing before we move on. It also improves revenue, right? So if you have this data and you can improve the site search results, then you improve revenue. And one thing that we're seeing in the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months since the AI overviews, and I know we said we're not going to go there, is that there are less clicks. When there are less clicks, it only makes sense that we are almost at a point where SEOs are going to, first and foremost, report revenues before money. A lot of SEOs are speaking about this in the last 5 years. However, a lot of them are still reporting clicks. Revenue, in the end of the day, is the most critical thing. It improves revenue. It means it's important for SEO.
That's really interesting because we talk about very frequently about that returning visitor, the branded search, and that all is a byproduct of establishing some kind of a presence with the user, with the visitor. Somehow they remember you and they'll come back, or they'll search. They'll be brand aware, and they'll search for your brand plus a product or whatever they're looking for. With that, it's important to understand intent and conversion. And I have a question here. How does AI decipher e-commerce shoppers' search intent? I'm browsing, I'm looking for something, or I'm ready to buy. And how can search result pages use this to increase conversion rates?
All right, so we are finally moving from just site search, now that we've established what it is and why it matters, into AI site search, which is what we're here for. So basically, AI, just like AI in general, is using NLP to understand things, to understand context, to connect between things. And this is the beautiful thing, which is between the string and the context. So until recently, until 2, 3, 4 years ago, site search was very simple. You're looking for a keyword. It looks in the database. Databases were invented, 50 years ago, I think. Looking at the database, they're finding the right string and they're matching it by string. By the way, we're joking. However, many sites, Arsen, are still using site search just like that. As I was preparing for this webinar today, I probably walked through like 30, 40 popular sites, e-commerce sites, big ones, the targets and the much smaller ones. And believe it or not, a lot of them are still using string-based searches. And the minute you have a little misspelling, the minute that you're asking something else, what do you get? Nothing, 0 results, right?
Right.
Anyways, AI is using NLP to understand connections. The easiest.
Let's quickly. Sorry, I'm interrupting. Let's quickly clarify what NLP is for some people that might not know.
Okay, so natural language processing. This is basically the basic of how the base of how AI is working. Okay, it's a system that is processing information and essentially goes way beyond strings and keywords, and allows ChatGPT, when you're using ChatGPT, because I know that a lot of our viewers are using ChatGPT in their free time, are simply chatting with ChatGPT, asking things, and ChatGPT gets it. You don't have to be accurate. You don't have to start a sentence with a capital letter. You can do a misspelling. It will get it. It will really get what you understand. If you will say cheap or you will say affordable, it will understand where you're coming from. So those kind of things are critical. So to answer your question, understanding intent and understanding conversion, there are a few key things. First, NLP helps us understand what the user means. The most critical thing is the difference between strings and context. Intent, you also asked about intent. So just browsing through the site or buying. Let's take an example. I'm now looking for vitamins. Okay, I'm going into a vitamin site and I'm searching for vitamins. I'm just browsing. Now I'm taking a very specific brand, which I'm not going to mention, and I'm looking for that specific one with 60 capsules. All right. Now the AI behind the scenes know exactly what I'm looking for, understands that I probably have experience with this item, and I'm probably ready to buy. When somebody's searching for a specific item, they're probably doing price comparison, ready to buy. So This is something that AI is doing behind the scenes that string-based site search is not even capable of doing.
Right.
Then we have everything that has to do with your browsing history, and we'll see a few examples a little later. of basically what happens to your browsing history. I took my wife's phone, who is constantly buying on Amazon, on Target. I compared with mine. There's a big difference for the same terms. Why? Because they know what she likes.
Right.
A few interesting additional examples that I wanted to bring under filters, okay? Because filters, well, everything that you have on the left side of your e-commerce site, all these things that you're supposed to allegedly to select, you can actually, with AI site search, just search for that. For example, vitamins or whatever it is, under $30. I want them to be gluten-free, okay? Or maybe cheap, or what a specific form I'm looking for, or a specific material, if it's a shoe or a t-shirt, or a specific color, of course. All of that, AI can easily understand, find that in the layer of data that exists above your database, and give you a much better result.
Right. So that's really interesting because you're essentially utilizing. Let me take a step back. You're not utilizing. You're shortening the user's discovery journey if they're not 100% sure of the product that they want to buy, or they're looking at a product and they're like, well, I wonder if there's a gluten, like you said, gluten-free version of this, right? So instead of potentially becoming frustrated and browsing through the website and trying to get into, like, if we're like a Shopify setup where you're looking at collections, right? Going back to the collection and browsing through that, you can easily put those parameters into that AI search and it's going to adjust for you. With that, we touched on personalization. Can you provide some examples of how AI customizes search results and ranks products based on shoppers' behavior, purchase history, or maybe even like a real-time journey, how I engaged with the website before I searched?
Well, I want to take a couple of examples, okay? Let's start with this one. And a little later, Arsen, we'll take a few additional examples after the next question that you will have for me. But essentially, their sites, this is a great example of Best Buy, all right? Best Buy is simply taking all the information they have, and you are searching now for a side-by-side fridge under $1,250. So even the fact that it understands the price, in that particular screenshot, it doesn't even have the price. But what I did for us, Arsen, is I double-checked. I went into every single one of them. They're all under 1,250. It's pretty amazing, okay? The side-by-side does exist in a lot of the titles, but not in all of them. And even in the ones that are not, it means it's already categorized behind the scenes. There's a difference between a side-by-side fridge and a one that is not. So this level is already here simply because of your simple search string. To be honest, you can easily do this today on Amazon. You can search for anything and you can do X, Y, and Z. For example, side-by-side fridge under what price in a specific color. And it will give it to you in a relatively great manner. When it comes to history, I do have an example about history, but let's do it after the next question, okay?
Right. So, and it's I've used, and when AIOs started coming out, when ChatGPT came out, a lot of my clients, and we work with a lot of publishers, and we also work with a lot of e-commerce clients. We're scared. Hey, what's going to happen? Are people going to search differently? Is this going to change how we do keyword research? Is this going to change how we do topic ideation? And it is going to change, right? Because people are going to adjust to how they discover content around the web and how they interact with modern search engines. And you kind of start offloading something that can potentially, like if I'm searching for a bike for my kid, right? And I'm going to start like best bikes for kids, and I'm going to read like a top 10 list, and I'm going to search out of those best bikes for kids who are like aggressive riders or are this height or have balance issues, right? Now I can just put that criteria into like ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm looking for a bike for my kid. I need to find the best brand for him. He is this tall. He's an aggressive rider. He has balancing, whatever, right? And it's going to shorten my discovery journey drastically. This is something that you can possibly, I'm assuming, do with site search, right? So like for e-commerce sites, especially with products that have various attributes, size, color, material, how does AI manage these complex, I want to call them long tail queries, better than traditional string, especially with natural language?
So this is all down to the filters. I actually have a very, very good example for you, or of a purchase that I've done in the last 2 weeks. So my Sub-Zero died about 3 weeks ago. Sucks. It's expensive, right? But what I was
I was
looking
gonna say
for,
good flex, good flex.
I was trying to figure out if there is another fridge. I don't know if people know that. Maybe the US audience will be a little bit more familiar with Sub-Zero fridges. What's unique about Sub-Zero is that the engine is on the top, and that it's very wide, very high, and not very deep. All right. So if you want to look for that measurement specifically, there are only 2 fridges in the US that have the same measurements, which are not Sub-Zero. You can do this with filters. I've tested it with ChatGPT. ChatGPT essentially brought me to the same place as well. So ChatGPT is incredible in that case, and is sort of like, in a way, already now competing with us on our site search discussion, because ChatGPT can really bring you to the specific items really quickly. But
Right.
that's slightly off topic to our conversation.
Right.
What the AI site search is doing is that it go through all the filters, and the filters is essentially the key. So let's take 5 years back in time, for example. Any site you can think of, as long as the item is there, you can probably get to it by playing with the filters. Remember the price, the gluten-free, the color, the material, the form, the side-by-side, whatever it is, the shape. And then you get to it, right? But with that search string, are you doing this?
No, it's Anton pressing cool buttons.
Oh, playing around with them. Right. So what you can do is you can just search for that, and it will apply all the filters. Now, a very important caveat. Is this thing perfect today?
Is this thing perfect today, Gal?
Not at all. Even on Amazon,
I knew it.
It's not. I mean, we're getting there, but it's not incredible. Remember I said how I went through like 40 different sites?
Right.
Even the most advanced ones are not as amazing as I make it sound. We're only getting there now, and we see things that are relatively advanced, but it's very difficult to point on a site and say personalization, everything around all the items is just perfect. It's not the case.
Right.
You're speaking to a relatively heavy shopper here.
Right. So,
do we want to
go ahead?
Do we want to speak about personalization for a second?
Yeah, I that's what I was going to say. So, like, let's touch on personalization quickly, because that's, at least in my opinion, that's what kind of sets this apart, right? Because search strings are only going to take you so far, right?
Right.
Let's talk about that.
Personalization basically means that if I'm looking for something and I'm shopping on this site again and again and again, they will know. Okay. And typically, if you're buying, let's say, an electric bike from a special electric bike store, and you will do it once in a year or once every 2 or 3 years, not so much. But if you're buying from Amazon or from Target or Walmart twice a week, after quite some time, they will know everything there is to know about you. Okay. They even have pictures of your door, because the delivery guy is taking pictures of your door, right? They have everything.
Right.
So
right.
That means that based on your history, the AI site search really allows to go very deep into predictive personalization. And that's the most critical thing here, and the most interesting thing here. This is today much better than it was 2, 3, 5 years ago. Still not perfect. A lot of site search companies are working on that and improving that as we speak. The more information those sites have about you, the better. You obviously must be logged in, which is one thing to remember. 2, sometimes results are a little different between website and the app, right? So Amazon, for example, we typically use the Amazon app for it. If you want to see relevant results, you must be logged in on your desktop as well when you're comparing. Otherwise, it's like 2 different people.
Right.
But predictive personalization is not perfect yet, by no means, but it's getting there. The next thing is everything around customers like yourself. Customers like yourself means people in your area, people in your age group. From what I've seen, the thing that it really does the best is usually in your zip code area. For example, the Best Buy example, it will show me fridges or TVs that I can get delivered from the closest store today or tomorrow.
Right.
It will not show me things that will be here a week from now that needs to be delivered from a different state, for example. So that's one thing. Then, of course, you have the cart. So you're adding things to your cart, whether you're buying them or not, they're tracking that. If they are not buying them, but they see what you're adding to your cart on a regular basis. So you have a wish list of things. you remove things. They already get the pattern. I'm not even speaking about the fact that Amazon has a team that is dedicated to figuring out what to do with all those people returning things, right? People are returning things on Amazon a lot.
Right.
And as such, they are analyzing sort of like, what are you more likely that you will search for, that you will eventually return. And of course, returning visits means buy again. Buy again, I think that this is a nice example. I'm buying this food for my dog from Chewy. All I have to do, I don't even have to do it, but let's say I use the search. I'm doing Purina 1. I just put the name. It already gives me specifically the food that I prefer. The first two are typically the two ones that I'm buying. Sometimes the first, sometimes the second. It doesn't even ask me if I want it for a dog or a cat, even though the Purina 1 sells for both dogs and cats, because they know that I got a dog. And here is another example that I have for you, Arsen, from Amazon. Same search, same location. One is my wife's phone, which is buying this bar for one of our kids every week. And another one, me, who's not using Target. And you see the buy it again is like right in your face. You can't really lose it. All right.
Right.
So that's sort of like the other example I wanted to show you.
So, like you said, it's not perfect, but there is multiple points of input that it's collecting along the way in order to personalize for you, whether it's your location, what people in your area are buying, your things you've added to cart. And there's a lot of that comes like people who bought this also bought this, right?
Correct.
And that actually kind of leads me into the next question, right? Like, insights, right? Insights that you can collect from using AI search on your website, especially with e-commerce. Can that data be utilized to inform certain decisions, like zero result searches or popular queries? How can that essentially shape inventory management, merchandising, product development? I know, like Aleda and I had a webinar a while back. I think it was with Duda, where we talked about how shifting inventory impacts technical SEO for e-commerce. Similar to that, how can this impact business decisions behind the scenes?
Well, first of all, because we might have quite a lot of e-commerce folks today watching this, interesting to say that a lot of examples we have in SEO, in technical SEO, come from e-commerce. I always tell people, I don't even know if it's true, but I always tell people, because that makes so much sense to me, that the whole concept of canonical eventually was because somebody wanted a black t-shirt, a white t-shirt, and a green t-shirt. It's always that example, and that's why we're using canonical, because we want one default item, but we want the ability to sort of like share a very specific variant of a product. That's slightly off topic. Let me go back to where we were. Now, as to the actionable insights from search data, there's a lot of things that you can do. Remember the first thing that we said half an hour ago? We said a lot of site owners in e-commerce are not even tracking their site searches. Not good. Once you have that data, there's quite a lot that you can do. First things first, let's just say that even if AI site search is perfect or not yet, as we said, zero results should not exist. Like, if you have a case of zero results, something is bad, all right? And we can obviously track what happens after a zero results. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to have all the data to understand that the likelihood of a person who gets zero results to leave the site is relatively high. It's not 100% by no means, but it's much higher than getting something. So perhaps the very biggest advantage of AI site search is just not having zero results. By no means,
Right.
just not having that.
Right.
Just show me the closest buy, but don't show me zero. The second thing is the popular queries from my trending socks example from before. Trending searches is phenomenal. People love that. You can use that for content creation. You can use that for PR. If you're a large site selling flowers, if you're a large site selling bikes, you're seeing what people are searching for today versus a year ago, versus 2 years ago, versus 5 years ago when COVID was here and everybody was trying to stay at home and not go outside. I do know one guy who started biking at that time. And trending searches can really do a lot of things from a marketing perspective as well. Seasonal landing pages, all right? A landing page for holidays, a landing page for specific events of the year. Then we can bundle popular items together. Bundling popular items together is basically one of the best growth hacks in e-commerce. Okay, which means just think of this: you're selling this one item, and you're selling that one item, and then the third one is being sold again. However, if you know what else those people are looking for, you can find the way to offer them that thing and offer bundle of popular items together, even
Right.
if they are related or not. So people who are typically buying this bottle of water would also want this gum. I don't know why I brought this example, but you get what I mean. Okay. Then you can utilize that on homepage, emails, categories and subcategories. That's just around popular searches.
Right.
Now we're getting to the more interesting things. Remember all these left side filters? Most people do not love them. Most e-commerce site owners I speak to, they're always looking at that big list and they're like, okay, what are we going to do with that? Are we going to keep this indexable? Are we not? Are we going to keep this open or not? Long story short, the more filters you have sometimes is better, but sometimes it also creates confusion.
Right.
And the thing that is really not great is when you have at the top filters that nobody's using. So yeah, we can have specific information and data points on the click events on these
Right.
filters, regardless to site search. But from site search, you can learn a lot about how to reorganize the filters. Remember the under $30 example, the gluten-free, the color, the size, the shape. Those things should be in the filters.
Right.
And of course, and perhaps the most interesting ones, listen, if you have missing items again and again and again, people who are looking for X and you do not have X, if it's once in a while, it's not a big deal, fine. But if it happens more often now for specific things, obviously this data can be used to understand what else you should add, where should we get it from, how should we sell it. Speaking of merchandising, right, this is also related because in
Right.
merchandising, what it means really is we want to sell what makes the most sense to us. This is going slightly back to the homepage example, but missing items definitely should be resolved as a result of this data.
Right. So we can pull, well, we can derive certain information from how users engage with the website, how users utilize AI, the search results, what actions they took after being exposed to the results. We can track all of that. What happens when, like, let's say, and I don't know if this is possible because I use ChatGPT very frequently and I use other LLMs, but it's not perfect, right? It hallucinates, it makes things up, it doesn't understand instructions. Sometimes it feels like there's like the internet slowed down back in the day when you like cable and everybody in your home is using internet. It's slower, and sometimes I feel like ChatGPT is just like not thinking properly because too many people are using it. So, like with that, are there any issues that you can possibly like from a synonyms, typos, semantic understanding? Like online shoppers can use multiple ways to describe things, and I would imagine AI does a good job at handling this, like sneakers, trainers, running shoes. How well does AI manage the synonyms, the misspellings, the semantic variations in products and catalogs, and how does it help avoid, either a misconnection or a misunderstanding to deliver relevant items?
I'll tell you what. Remember how we said, Arsen, that not all tools are perfect yet, or not all searches are being done well?
Right.
It really is the case, and we see a level of that inside search. However, from everything I've seen, it is still so much better. It's just so much better. Basically, if there's one thing, there are a few, but if there's one thing that AI site search really solves very well when it comes to site search, it's that. It's understanding the synonyms. It's ignoring the typos, because you don't even like typos. This is one of the best examples of why string site search is so problematic. You miss a letter and it can actually tell you 0 results, even though
Right.
the item is just ready to be shipped to your house.
Right.
So synonyms, typos, everything that has to do with semantic, it's going back to the NLP detection again, the natural language. There's something called vector embedding, basically, that detects relationships. I read about this. I learned this for a couple of both clients and projects we had in the last couple of years. Super interesting. The most critical thing really is that this, what you just described, from everything that we're describing today, this is really is the easiest part. Like this is what AI does so well and
Right.
so quickly. And this is why I also think that this is so much better, like 100 times better. I don't know if it's 100 times better or 1,000 times better, but AI site search is just so much better because, again, one tiny typo and you got 0 results instead of all the variants. Semantic search basically means that it can also take additional layers from those filters that we already spoke about, like the $30, the gluten-free, the shape, and all.
Right.
This is the easy part for AI.
This is interesting. So this was a question here. Visual and voice search readiness. How is AI enhancing visual and voice search in e-commerce, and how ready are they for mainstream adaptation, especially by online stores? And this is interesting because we were playing around with Google. I guess it's still called Lens with my kid the other day. Is there like, are we seeing anything in the near future that can work together with AI search results when it comes to visual and voice?
First of all, honestly, this is still not as incredible as you would want it to be.
Right.
Which means that everything that has to do with visual search is not really perfect. And the same thing happens with voice. Now, I know that we are all used to speaking to our Alexa or Siri. Well, Alexa is out of the question. Alexa is just terrible at this, if you ask me personally. I
Right.
unplug it twice a week from the electricity. But Siri is pretty good, right? Siri is pretty straightforward.
Right.
And I think that the regular search, Google, ChatGPT is definitely there. Site search really is not there yet. And if we'll speak slightly later a little bit about how we sort of like see the future of this whole thing, I think this is where the biggest improvement is going to be. But we are used to voice on phones and it's working pretty well. And there are a few stores that are already utilizing image search. Wayfair is one good example. Asus, Amazon, in a way, in some specific items. And actually, I do have an example for you from a site called Artfully Walls, which is an art print site where there is a search that is done by sort of like a visual by your taste. And every time you go, like an additional, should we look at that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're going to look at that in a way that you start with a string, you search for something, it recognizes images around it, and every time you click on an image, it takes you to the next step, opening up more images. Because it's an art prints business, it's actually pretty cool. So you can check it out, but I do have a screenshot here of how it looks. So we just looked for lake with sun. So it actually looks for lakes, and it actually even looks for non-lakes, like even rivers, because it understands the connection with water. Because people who are looking to buy a picture for the living room or bedroom with a lake with the sun might mean something else as well. And it's actually pretty cool. I've played a lot with that, and that's working pretty well. But going back to where we were before, Wayfair, Asus are doing that. Target, not at all. Amazon.
So is it like, oh, sorry. So is it like, as it's taking you through this journey of presenting you with visuals and you're selecting, is it learning based on your selection?
Based on your selection, it opens up more additional pictures as
Right.
to what you looked for. And every single time, so you only do a string search once, and then like a text search once, and then
Right.
every single time you go on an image, it walks up to the next one and learns what you're actually looking for. Where with one specific things in mind, which is let's find the image that person is looking for, because there's so many to choose from. I think this site has over like 1 million different images, and you're just looking for the one that you want right now, and it's doing a pretty good job of that.
So I'm assuming, so this is like very much like top of funnel. Like I landed here, whether I'm brand aware or not brand aware. I landed on the brand website, whether, again, regardless of how my journey got me there, and I landed whether it was on the homepage. I started the journey on the homepage, or I landed internally on something that I searched and it popped up for me. But that's not what I'm looking for, right? So very much like top of funnel, potentially. Like I'm kind of sure what I'm looking for, but I'm not 100% on whether this website has it, right? And it's more visual than like I'm having a hard time describing it. So I can start my journey here and I can say, lake with sun. It's going to give me all of those and be like, oh, I'm looking more something that's less photography and more vector, right? And like click on that and it opens up more and more.
It definitely changes the style every single
Right.
time you do that. So this is another cool thing.
Have you seen this?
Sorry, go ahead.
Have you seen this used not in art, like maybe in apparel? Like I'm looking for a sweater. I'm having a hard time describing it. Right. I know it's a black sweater with long sleeves, right? And I need help figuring the rest out.
I know for sure it exists, Arson. I don't think I have a good example for you from apparel right now. Slightly less familiar, but I've definitely seen something like that. If it doesn't exist, it should exist yesterday. But I'm pretty sure it exists, where you're even able to take like a picture of somebody, like a celebrity that you've seen online, and like,
right.
I want that T-shirt.
Right. That's pretty amazing. Now, is this something that and I know like we didn't touch on this, but are there out of the box AI site search solutions, or is this like from and they know you're not a developer, I'm not a developer, so like this is a foreign language to us. But is there a certain amount of complexity with getting this going?
So look, there are a few very popular products that are offering that. Algolia is maybe the most known one. I remember hearing of and even testing Algolia back in my investing.com days, I think like 5 years ago plus. There are other sites and other companies that do that. Hawk Search, I think Bloom Search. There's something with K that I forgot. And of course, Clevo, I think. And of course, there's custom solutions. So there are quite a few companies that are offering AI site search. In many cases, like the one we were just looking at, the Artfully Walled ones, it's actually a custom build. And a custom build does not mean AI is built from scratch. It just means that the developer is taking existing technology and putting it on their customer side.
Do we know? Are the LLMs I want to say proprietary to these engines, or are they utilizing ChatGPT or anything else?
Definitely using some of the existing models. I don't know which one is using ChatGPT specifically.
Gotcha.
I can tell you that I have seen a custom one that is using ChatGPT, so it's definitely doable.
All right. There you go. Thanks, Anton. What's the future looking like with this? Because I know like we quickly touched on this, but I have a feeling that this might potentially change, and that's like a hypothesize and theorize, right? This can potentially change the entire shopping experience, right? As this becomes more advanced, right? Because you might get away from having like collection pages or category pages, or even an ability to you can come in and say, show me black t-shirts, size large, crew neck, and order them by highest reviews and then cheapest price, or have a discount, or can arrive tomorrow.
No doubt that this is where it's going, and this is going to be a lot of fun for us as shoppers as well. And at the same time, it's going to be slightly more complex as SEOs or marketers, because in the end of the day, what we are seeing with everything that AI is doing is that the time put in research is getting much, much shorter, right? And it's also relevant for any AI overviews related SEO discussion, which we're not going into today, that users are spending less
time. Dodging it on purpose.
We're almost there every single time. We're almost there. People are going to be using, and already now they need less time for research. Remember the Sub-Zero example? I just gave the dimensions to ChatGPT. It showed me the product. No really need to go and look for that and play with the filters for hours and hours and say, hey, I found it. So the future, in my view personally, looks something like that. First of all, conversational search is going to be so much better. We spoke about this a little bit more.
Right.
Then everything that has to do around like, I want a one like this. Remember the t-shirt example of the celebrity? I want this. Get it to me now. I don't need to look for that.
Right.
And of course, personalization by your personal taste. Okay, gluten-free. If you're gluten-free, that needs to be obvious to the system. No need to show absolutely anything that is not gluten-free. We're not speaking about fridges, but let's say vitamins or any other kind of bar or whatever. And then, of course, there's another thinking that I have constantly, which is, are we going to get to a point one day where big retailers are going to be sharing information? So I read somewhere, Arsen, that over 60 or 65, I know where I read it, on Capital One, so it's a big source. Over 65% of Americans are buying at least once on both Target and Amazon every single year. Do you think Amazon and Target are sharing data? I don't think so. I think that at some point in the future, this is going to be more accessible to companies, because more and more company owners, retailers, understand that not everyone is only buying with them. Okay. And if I'm buying shoes on your site and then I'm going to buy an energy bar there, maybe some of that information can be transferred. But I think that if to focus on the most critical thing, it's without a doubt the personalization and the understanding of what I really need, so that I don't need to spend much time on looking for it, but
Right.
just giving me what I need. And before I click the add to cart, it's already going to be at your doorstep.
Right. You know, there's the matter of convenience, and I'm noticing even with me. I'm planning my trip. You and I are seeing each other next week in New York. I'm planning my trip, and I'm making a few stops along the way. And this process usually takes me a day or two to plan my trip. I'm flying from one spot to another, hotel, blah, blah, blah. What I've done this time, and they did this with Gemini, is I've loaded essentially, like, I wrote out, like, I'm traveling. These are the dates. This is how I like to travel. These are the hotels I like to stay in. Here are my dates and the cities that I need to be in at which times. And I said, I want you to build me an itinerary, and I want you to find flights with the following airlines under the following prices, certain classes, and everything else. And it did an okay job, right? I was expecting it to be a little bit better. It was more where it couldn't do the actual thing that I asked it to do. It provided me instructions on how I can do it myself, which was like, no, thank you. Like, if I could have done it myself, I would have done it. But I do see people utilizing AI in very interesting ways, especially when it comes to commerce and e-commerce. And it, like I said, it does shorten your discovery process. And we talked a lot about, like, from a consumer angle, right? How can we help a consumer? And we have a question here from Timothy. He's asking, how can we as agencies, right? So not consumers, this is for agencies, tie this directly into our Duda sites and monetize it. So we can't talk about how to integrate into Duda because neither Igal or I are developers. We're not nerds. Just kidding. But we can talk about the agency side of this because Igal is an agency and does do this for his clients. So can you quickly talk about, like, obviously without giving away anything important, talk about how can agencies monetize this AI-powered site search?
So the first thing is to explain to clients that this is critical and show data, right, as to what's happening. So one thing that we did not touch upon today, Arsen, in my slides, I want to open that slide because this really answers that question exactly. Let me just find it real quickly. Measuring ROI. Right. Basically, to measure ROI means how do you make this thing make you more money, right? So measuring ROI, I'll touch upon that, and quickly I'll go to the question. First of all, money, obviously you want to sell more. Then things like searches, percentage of searches that lead to a purchase, average order value, which is a big metric in e-commerce, going up, ratio of the add to cart, and then of course also things like percentage of zero results. If you remember, we wanted to avoid them entirely. Search results, CTR, new product discovery, critical, and so on. Every single one of those 6 or 7 things that are mentioned here are allowing the company to make more money. And if we as an agency explain to the client that this is big, this is another service that we can sell. Again, I don't know exactly what kind of agency are we speaking about, SEO or not, focused on e-commerce or not, but it doesn't matter. In the end of the day, this is just somewhere that all the other all the other e-commerce shops are going towards. And obviously our clients should be there. I have clients today, Arsen, in the e-commerce world that are still not there in the space in terms of the AI site search. We're talking about this. We're working on that. We have a couple of projects that are doing just that right now, and another few that already have that enabled. But again, this is a process that we are now going through. I hope this answers the question.
Right. Very, very, very good answer. Thanks, Timothy, for the question.
Arsen,
Okay,
can
like,
I ask something else?
so,
Remember how you spoke about Gemini?
right.
I wanted to say something real quickly. Gemini is a product by Google. Google must be using Google Flights. Google Flights and Google Gemini are relatively two new teams that are not necessarily entirely combined. They are combined, but not necessarily entirely. We
Right.
can't say more than that because we don't know. But the point is that it's obviously getting there. It's just going to take another year or two. I bet that a year from now, the same trip with Gemini will be 10 times better. Still, it misses a few things. And that's why sometimes you're like, oh, why would I have this layover in Atlanta? It doesn't make any sense. But for the system, it does.
Well, this is very interesting because a few years back, and I forgot where. No, not a few years. This is actually many years ago, before the pandemic. There was a lot of conversation. I know voice search was like a big topic, and we did a lot of presentations, and we traveled and talked about it.
I remember.
There was this aspect of personalization and Google utilizing your places you've checked in on Google Maps, reviews you've left around on Google businesses, things you've searched for, places you've bought from, to help answer questions or to help. Like, I think somebody was talking about how Google at one point will be able to say, your flight is at this time out of LAX. You should be leaving at this time. Here are some options for rideshare companies that can get you there on time, right? So like really, really utilizing all of the data around you, around your sphere, to like next level of personalization, to just act as a really, really well educated about you and your preferences personal assistant, right? And I think, and it did, Gemini did use Google Flights because it did come back based on Google Flights. This is what I'm seeing, but then Google Flights is also limited. Not everyone's feeding into that system, right? Not all airlines. So I think the future in that aspect is that's where it's going to go, where I'll be able to, especially with Google. I don't know so much about like how ChatGPT integrates with everything around us, but Google kind of like, it's our email, it's our calendar, it's everything in there, right? It's our entire, pretty much our entire ecosystem. So I'll be able to say, hey, I need to travel to New York next Wednesday, make it happen, right? And it already has my credit cards and everything else, and I just like approve. And I think shopping is going to go in that direction, where Google will be able to see, especially if I've bought through Google before, where I've shopped before, whether I returned the item, what my satisfaction. So like multiple data sources informing the AI on how it should process for me. Okay, so we have. Go ahead.
A quick example. Yesterday, 6 p.m., Alexa, out of the blue, in my kitchen, all of a sudden, you did not order towel papers for 2 weeks. Should I order that? My reply, sure.
Right.
Now, this thing exists with Amazon and Alexa for the past 5 years at least.
It's been around.
Another something that e-commerce sites can utilize. Of course, they don't have an Alexa in the kitchen yet, but with everything else, with every other communication channel that you do have with the user.
Right. Okay, so the benefit we talked about the benefit of AI powered search to the brand. We quickly touched on how AI powered search helps the consumer. Do we see any kind of potential for helping? And if we're looking at it from a traditional SEO perspective, right? I know we weren't going to touch on this, but we have a few minutes, and I kind of want to dive into that.
Sure.
To utilize the data that is collected from how users interact with the AI site search, how they interact with the website, collecting all that information, and then using that information to inform your, let's say, traditional SEO decisions. Because I'm sure you've done something in that space, right?
Again, remember the first example that we started with, the trending stocks?
Right.
This is a trending items example of a product that we've built based on searches that ranks very well, by the way, because people are happy with it because it's valuable. And you can do that with everything. So I think that, first of all, everything trending is massive and you should do it. You should actually see what people are buying. You should see what people are buying with these items and create these bundle subcategories. They have search volume in many, many cases. That's one.
Right.
Second thing, this thing, and we've touched upon this today as well a little bit, which is these lists, especially if you categorize them, label them correctly, or even break them down by seasons or types or whatever it is that you sell. This is fantastic for content creation and PR. So imagine a blog post on your site basically breaking down the most popular things, not in general, but something slightly more interesting. The most popular things that people buy with wine, or anything that really can have search volume. So this can be a PR opportunity. This can be a content opportunity. This can be an SEO element from a product perspective on your site, new categories, new filters. Some of these filters, without going into the technical things right now, simply because it's going to take a little long, some of these filters are always indexable, and you can feed a lot of your SEO efforts with the information that comes with site search. I really mean that, Arsen. I think that site search is a critical part for every e-commerce CMO and head of SEO, because it tells us so much that we can do. The users are look, going back to this, what did we say? This, a critical communication channel, and
Right.
we have to utilize it, and we can learn so much from it.
Right. The have you there's value in being able to say, hey, before this even starts getting popular, before there's even demand for this, before there's even let's call it search volume, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being aware, because this is human first data, right? This is like, you're kind of seeing there's a trend that's about to start happening. People are searching this on your website. Let's say a bamboo t-shirts, right? And now out of nowhere, this is now becoming more and more popular. So there's value. You're getting this data. You're seeing there's demand for this. People are searching. People might not be searching for this directly. They don't know what it is, but they're looking for, a material that, doesn't retain water and is not synthetic or whatever, right? You're showing them these results and you're seeing that people are buying. So now you're able to look at this data and say, hey, maybe we should create content around this. Maybe we should create a landing page around this. Maybe we should be present, create an ecosystem around this, whereas the topic starts gaining demand, we're already present in the search results.
Besticles, listicles, internal linking, all of those things can be fed into your SEO plan based on what the site search is showing you, of course. In that particular case, that even goes without the AI part of the site search. AI site search just makes the site search so much better that people will enjoy, buy, spend more money, and be happy.
Everyone's gonna be happy. Okay, we have about a minute and a half left. The back end of this, and this is something I wanted to ask and forgot earlier. The back end of this, right? With the implementations that you've done, and we've mentioned two, Algolia, and we mentioned another one, a few of these, and I don't know if you've played with them or not. Bloom Search.
Also played with SearchSpring.
Nice. So is there what is the backend like? Is there a way to is there analytics there, or is it just strictly this is what people are searching for and this is the result?
Algolia has their own analytics. Of course, you can push everything into GA4, but who wants to use GA4 if you can not to, right? Any excuse not to use GA4.
Not to go in there.
No, they have their own analytics system. I'm not familiar with all of them, but Algolia has a very nice dashboard where you can actually see everything, dashboards, insights, graphs. You can break it down by a lot of things. It's a big tool. It's a great tool. And of course, you can also customize things if you're building this by yourself. I mean, look, this whole thing, if you have it up and running and you do not have the data, it's pretty meaningless. The data is almost as important as the actual search.
All right, so we're wrapping up here. Yigal, Always awesome to talk to you. Where can people find you? If I am an e-commerce site owner and I want to hire you to help me with this, where would I go?
The easiest would be to go to our site, webify.io. You can contact us through there, or just look for my name on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm on all 3 platforms. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Duda, thank you for giving us the platform to have this awesome webinar. Anton, you are awesome. Thanks for clicking all the cool buttons in the back and giving us those really awesome AI images. Again, thanks everyone. See you next time.
Thank you so much. Take care.